true elegance isn't about what you keep, it's about what you choose to release. As we move through different seasons of life, the things we carry, physically and emotionally, can quietly weigh us down. These 5 things, they're silently draining your energy, cluttering your space, and holding you back from the peace and confidence you deserve. Letting go isn't loss, it's growth. And the most sophisticated women know, simplicity is power. Stay with me as we uncover what to release, how to do it with grace, and why it might be the most liberating thing you've done this year. With every passing season, we collect more clothes that no longer fit who we are, habits that once served us but now feel like burdens, and relationships that may have quietly grown distant or draining. At first, it all seems manageable, but over time, that quiet accumulation starts to feel heavy. Our homes feel cluttered, our days feel rushed, and deep down, our hearts feel crowded. It's not just about physical stuff. It's the emotional weight we carry when we hold on to things out of guilt, fear, or routine. If you've ever looked around and thought, why does everything feel like too much? You're not alone. This is your invitation to pause, reflect, and gently release what no longer serves you. Because life after 60 isn't about holding on to everything. It's about choosing what truly matters and letting go of the rest with grace. Today, I'm sharing 5 things that truly graceful, sophisticated women choose to let go of, not to create a picture-perfect home, but to reclaim their peace, space, and energy. These aren't just old sweaters or forgotten trinkets. They're the hidden clutter that quietly weighs us down, emotionally and mentally. Letting go is not about losing. It's about making room for what really matters in this season of life. And trust me, by the time we get to number 4, you might just feel something shift inside you. Stay with me, because this isn't just about decluttering your home. It's about clearing a path back to yourself. 1. Outdated clothing that no longer reflects you. If it doesn't make you feel confident today, let it go. You've evolved, your wardrobe should too. Let's talk about something many of us keep, often without thinking twice, clothing from another time in our lives. It might be a blouse you wore to work back in the day, a dress from a family wedding, or those slacks you were sure you'd fit into again. They sit there in the closet, silently taking up space, and sometimes quietly whispering shame, guilt, or nostalgia. I had one silky blouse I kept for years. It was elegant, expensive, and once made me feel sharp and empowered. But every time I looked at it in recent years, I didn't feel that way anymore. I kept it because it reminded me of a version of myself, professional, busy, constantly on. But here's the thing, that version of me? She's grown. She's changed. She's softer now, more grounded, and no longer needs to wear a blazer to prove her worth. That blouse didn't reflect me anymore. It reflected who I used to be. So I let it go, and the moment I did, something shifted. It wasn't just about freeing up hanger space. It was about making peace with who I am now, in this beautiful chapter of life. As we age, our bodies change, our tastes evolve, and our lifestyle shifts. Yet many of us keep clothes that no longer serve our daily lives or reflect our current self. Sometimes it's because we think, what if I need it again? Or, I spent good money on this. But those reasons are rooted in the past, or the future, neither of which we're living in today. When you keep clothing that no longer fits, flatters, or aligns with who you are now, you unintentionally send a message to yourself. Who I am today isn't enough. That's not true. Who you are right now is worthy of comfort, beauty, and confidence. Here's a gentle exercise. Next time you open your closet, pick out 3 items you haven't worn in a year. Hold each one and ask, does this make me feel confident today? Does it reflect who I am now, not who I was? Would I be excited to wear this tomorrow? If the answer is no, thank it silently for what it once brought to your life, and let it go. Graceful living doesn't mean holding on to everything just in case. It means curating your life, your space, your wardrobe, your mind, to align with who you are becoming. You don't need 10 versions of yourself hanging in the closet to prove anything. You only need one that reflects your elegance, your comfort, your truth. And by the way, you might be surprised how energizing it feels to open a closet that only contains pieces that make you feel good. That's not just decluttering, it's emotional clarity. It's a daily affirmation that you matter today, just as you are. Letting go of outdated clothing is a quiet but powerful act of self-respect. It says, I trust who I am now, I honor the life I live today, and I deserve to feel good in my own skin and in my own clothes. So take a deep breath, open that closet, and start with one hanger. Let that be the beginning of a space and a self that feels beautifully, authentically you. 2 guilt-tied gifts and heirlooms. Graceful women know love isn't stored in stuff. Keeping it out of guilt? That's not love, that's emotional clutter. There's a certain drawer in my house that used to hold more than just objects. It held stories, expectations, and a quiet, persistent guilt. Inside were gifts I never used, heirlooms I didn't love, and keepsakes I felt obligated to keep. Every time I opened that drawer, I felt the weight of someone else's intentions and none of my own. And maybe you know that feeling too. We've all been there. The decorative plate from a relative you never really got along with. The itchy blanket your friend insisted you just love. The brooch passed down from your grandmother that's never quite been your style. These things come wrapped in sentiment, but sometimes not in joy. And yet, we keep them. Why? Because we don't want to offend, disappoint, or feel like we're being ungrateful. But let's pause and ask something important. Does keeping something out of guilt truly honor the person who gave it to you? Or does it just create a quiet burden in your space? Here's the truth that graceful, self-aware women come to realize. Love doesn't live in the object. It lives in the gesture, the memory, the relationship. A gift, once given, has done its job. It was a moment of connection, of thoughtfulness. But once it enters your home, it becomes yours, and you get to decide whether it stays. Heirlooms carry even more weight. Sometimes they've been passed down through generations, carrying family history, emotion, and expectations. And yet, not every heirloom fits our current life. Not every object needs to be a permanent resident in our home. You are allowed to ask, is this bringing me comfort and joy? Or is it bringing me stress and obligation? Here's the quiet trick I use to let go without guilt. Before parting with a guilt-tied item, I take a moment to acknowledge it. I hold it, recall the memory or the person attached to it. And then I say, either out loud or in my heart, thank you for what you brought into my life. I carry the love, not the item. Then I either donate it so someone else can enjoy it, or I photograph it as a way to preserve the memory without needing the physical object. You'd be amazed how freeing that simple ritual can be. And if you're afraid that letting go of something means erasing a connection or dishonoring someone's love, consider this. Would the person who gave it to you want it to weigh you down? Or would they want you to live with peace, space, and intention? Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means creating room for what truly belongs in your life today. Here are a few simple questions to guide your process. Am I keeping this out of joy or obligation? Do I display it, use it, or appreciate it regularly? Would I still keep it if no one ever asked about it again? If the answer is no, give yourself permission to let it go with grace. And know this, you are not your things. You are the love you give, the memories you hold, and the person you continue to become. True elegance isn't found in clinging to the past. It's in knowing what to carry forward and what to release. So go ahead, open that drawer, that shelf, that box in the attic. And remember, letting go with intention is not an act of rejection, it's an act of self-respect. And you, more than anyone, deserve a home and a heart that feel light, clear, and fully your own. 3 friendships that drain, not nourish. Elegant aging includes protecting your energy. Some relationships belong in your past, not your present. As we get older, something beautiful begins to happen. We start to see life with greater clarity. We realize that time is no longer something to spend recklessly. Our energy, our peace, our space, these are treasures. And one of the most overlooked sources of clutter? Relationships that drain rather than nourish us. There was a time in my life when I answered every phone call, replied to every message, showed up for every lunch I didn't want to attend, just to be polite, to keep the peace, or to avoid feeling guilty. But those same connections left me feeling tired, unheard, and often invisible. Maybe you felt that too. We all have those people in our lives, longtime friends, old neighbors, or even family, whose presence now feels more like a responsibility than a joy. The conversation feels one-sided. The energy feels heavy. You hang up or walk away feeling less like yourself, not more. And still, we keep answering. Why? Because we're taught that longevity equals loyalty. That if someone's been in your life for decades, They've earned a permanent place in it. But here's the truth. Graceful women know when to gently close a chapter. Not with bitterness, not with drama, but with quiet clarity and self-respect. Relationships, like seasons, shift. Some people were perfect companions for who you were then, but they may not align with who you are now. That's not failure. That's growth. There's a phrase I began using when I realized certain friendships were no longer life-giving. When the same person would call to complain for an hour, or only talk about themselves, or bring negativity into every conversation, I started practicing a quiet boundary. And here's the phrase that helped me. Right now, I'm protecting my peace. Let's catch up another time. It's simple, it's kind, and most importantly, it's true. And for those relationships that required more distance, I gave myself permission to let them fade without guilt. Not every ending needs an explanation. Sometimes, silence speaks for itself. You are not obligated to keep showing up for someone who drains your spirit, no matter how long they've been around. Here's a gentle self-check to try. Ask yourself, after I interact with this person, do I feel more alive or more depleted? If you consistently feel drained, it's time to reevaluate the role that person plays in your life. Letting go of draining friendships doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It allows you to make space for the relationships that do fill you up. The ones that are rooted in mutual respect, laughter, warmth, and presence. Because elegant aging isn't about tolerating everything. It's about curating your world so that everything in it, people included, supports your well-being. You deserve friendships that feel easy, encouraging, and energizing. People who listen as much as they speak. Who see you not just for who you were, but who you are today. It may not be easy to step back from certain relationships, but peace is a precious thing, and you've earned the right to protect yours fiercely and gracefully. So here's your invitation. Reflect on the people in your life. Who uplifts you? Who sees your heart? Who leaves you smiling when the conversation ends? Lean into those connections. Water them. Cherish them. And for the ones that no longer fit, release them gently, not with resentment, but with gratitude for the role they once played. Because at this stage in life, your time is gold, and who you share it with matters deeply. Let go with love. Make room for connection that nourishes. You're not being selfish. You're being wise. For someday projects you're no longer passionate about, there's freedom in saying, I've changed my mind. Half-finished hobbies? They're not proof of failure, they're proof of growth. Let's talk about the unfinished knitting project in the back of your closet, or the stack of paintbrushes collecting dust, or that unopened box of scrapbooking supplies that's been waiting for the right time since 2007. Sound familiar? We all have them. Those someday projects we swore we'd get to. The hobbies we bought supplies for. The goals we committed to on a January morning. The books we were going to write. The languages we were going to learn. The sewing machine we were going to master. But here's the quiet truth that many graceful, self-aware women come to realize. Just because you started something doesn't mean you have to finish it. Yes, you heard that right. You are allowed to change your mind. Let me say it again. With love, you are allowed to change your mind. I used to keep a bin in the corner of my guest room labeled quilting supplies. Inside were half-stitched fabric squares, threads I no longer remembered buying, and patterns that didn't even excite me anymore. For years, I kept telling myself I'd finish that quilt, that someday I'd sit down, get inspired, and see it through. But every time I saw that bin, I didn't feel inspired. I felt guilty. It was like the quilt was quietly whispering, "You're falling behind," or worse, "You didn't follow through." And that quiet shame, it drained me more than I realized. Until one day, I donated it. The fabric, the thread, the whole thing, gone. It went to a local art program for seniors who actually love quilting. I let it go, and instantly, I felt lighter. Not just in my home, but in my mind. Here's what I learned. That unfinished project wasn't a symbol of failure. It was a symbol of evolution. The woman who bought those supplies, she was creative, curious, and excited. That energy mattered. But I'm not her anymore. I've changed. And that's not just okay. It's beautiful. We grow. We shift. What once thrilled us may no longer fit our lives or our hearts. Holding on to past passions, just because we feel we should finish them, isn't loyalty, it's pressure. And you don't need that. Instead of asking yourself, should I finish this? Try asking, does this still light me up? Do I feel joy when I imagine completing it? Or just relief that it's done? Am I holding this because I want it, or because I feel guilty for not wanting it? Those questions reveal what really matters. And if the answer is, this no longer fits who I am, let it go. With grace. With a thank you. With the full permission to free your space and energy for what does excite you. Here's something else to consider. Every time you release a someday project, you make room for today, for the version of yourself that wants simplicity, that wants ease, that's more interested in meaningful conversations, or quiet mornings than in finishing, something that feels like a chore. You are not unfinished because your projects are. You are complete, even if the quilt isn't. So open that craft bin, dust off that shelf, look at that pile of half-written ideas, and give yourself the gift of choice. Keep what still brings joy, donate or release the rest. Because here's the truth that sets you free. You don't owe anything to a past version of yourself. You owe everything to who you are now. There is elegance in being honest with yourself. There is grace in letting go. And there is power in saying, that season has passed, and that's okay. You don't need your house, your storage bins, or your mental space filled with unfinished somedays. What you need is room to breathe, to move freely, and to live fully, right here, right now. So let go, not because you failed, but because you've grown. 5 negative self-talk that's become routine. True sophistication starts with how you speak to yourself. The most powerful declutter? The words in your own mind. We all talk to ourselves. Every day, every hour, every quiet moment. But what we don't always realize is how often that inner voice is unkind. It might sound like, I should have done more today. I look tired again. Why can't I get it together? What's the point now? And because we're so used to that inner commentary, we don't even notice it anymore. It becomes background noise, a quiet soundtrack of self-criticism that plays while we make breakfast, check the mail, fold laundry, or glance in the mirror. Here's the thing, if someone else spoke to you the way you sometimes speak to yourself, would you call it love? Would you consider it friendship? Probably not. Graceful, sophisticated women aren't perfect, but they understand this truth. You cannot thrive if your own voice is the one tearing you down. I remember a time, just a few years ago, when I caught myself criticizing everything I did. I'd wake up and instantly list what I hadn't accomplished the day before. I'd look in the mirror and see only the wrinkles. I'd forget something simple, like where I put my glasses, and immediately say, "What's wrong with you?" One morning, I'd had enough. I grabbed a yellow post-it note and wrote a single sentence. Speak to yourself like someone you love. I stuck it on my bathroom mirror, and the first time I saw it the next morning, I paused. It was so simple, so gentle, so different from the way I normally started my day. That one sentence began to change everything. I started noticing when I was being harsh with myself. I'd catch the self-judgment and swap it for something more compassionate. Instead of, "I look exhausted," I'd say, "I'm doing the best I can today." Instead of, "I should have gotten more done," I'd say, "I gave what I had to give." This isn't about fake positivity or ignoring real emotions. It's about becoming a safe place for yourself. Because the words you speak inside your head, they shape how you feel, how you show up, and how deeply you believe in your worth. And here's the powerful part. When you begin to declutter your self-talk, you start to feel lighter, not just emotionally, but physically. You smile more, breathe more deeply, make better choices, say no to what doesn't serve you, and yes to what truly does. So how do you start? Try this. Notice the pattern. For one day, pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Are your words loving, patient, curious? Or are they rushed, judgmental, harsh? Challenge the habit. When you catch yourself saying something negative, pause and ask, would I say this to someone I care about? If not, rephrase. Replace it with truth. Keep a few go-to affirmations or gentle reminders nearby. Like, I am allowed to rest. I am still learning, and that's okay. My worth is not measured by productivity. Make it visual, just like I did. Write one kind sentence on a post-it. Stick it somewhere you'll see it every day. Let it interrupt the old script. Give yourself grace. Changing how you speak to yourself takes time. You've had decades of practice being critical, so give yourself permission to be in process. Decluttering your home is powerful. Decluttering your calendar is freeing. But decluttering your inner dialogue, that's transformational. That's where true peace begins. Because here's the truth. You are already enough. You always were. Not because of what you accomplish, not because of how you look, but because of who you are. So let go of the voice that tells you otherwise. Gently, lovingly, patiently, start building a new inner voice. One that cheers you on, holds you kindly, and speaks with the same grace you offer others. That is true sophistication. That is emotional elegance. And it begins with one sentence, one post-it, one small shift. From that moment on, everything inside you and around you starts to change. I used to believe I had to hold on to everything, to prove I hadn't wasted time, money, or love. Every half-finished project, every outdated outfit, every strained relationship felt like a receipt I couldn't throw away. But here's the truth. I've learned with time, letting go isn't loss, it's liberation. Releasing what no longer fits doesn't erase the past. It honors it and clears space for who I really am now, not who I used to be. There's grace in knowing when something has served its purpose, and even more grace in setting it down. Now, I open my closet and feel peace. I sit in my living room and feel me. Not the clutter, not the guilt, just the quiet confidence of a space that reflects who I am today. Letting go didn't make me less, it made me lighter, more intentional, more present, more alive. Because when you release what no longer serves you, you make room for joy, clarity, and freedom. And that, at any age, is the most beautiful kind of abundance. What's one thing you've been meaning to let go of, but haven't yet? Let's talk about it below. You're not alone, and your story might help someone else feel a little braver too. If this inspired you to release even one item, or one heavy thought, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. There's more graceful simplification coming your way, and I'd love for you to be part of it.